What up, cucks? It's your boy, the hater, up in this mug, and we're gonna review WrestleMania Night 1. We're gonna start from the top and work our way to the main event, which is gonna be probably the second half of this video. I feel like we're gonna spend a lot of time talking about the main event, as well as our thoughts. Let's get to it, cucks! First up, we had Rhea Ripley beating Becky Lynch by pinfall in a predictable and relatively pedestrian match. I will say this, unlike other matches, and unlike most women's matches, this match didn't have any botches or anything. I mean, they didn't do anything crazy either. Like, the finish was Rhea Ripley does the riptide on, like, the top turnbuckle. Like, not off the top turnbuckle, but she slams Becky on the turnbuckle and then does it again. Great. Big deal. It wasn't anything special. It didn't feel like a WrestleMania match. Rhea Ripley came out and, I guess the band that sings her song was singing, and, like, the lead singer looks like Rhea Ripley. I think he's a guy, but he looks like Rhea Ripley with short hair. So, like, I was like, oh, she's singing her own theme. And then Rhea Ripley appears. I was like, oh, that's kind of weird. But anyways, it is what it is. Next up, we had, in my opinion, a pretty boring match overall, but it had some good spots. The tag team match, cucks. As I predicted, as you'll see, the hater was pretty much right about all his predictions. As I predicted, Grayson Waller and the other one, Austin Theory, win the SmackDown tag team titles. This happened relatively, like, early in the match, like, at least I would say before the halfway point. I don't know, right? The vast majority of the match was contested for the other belts, the Raw belts. So the real winner was, in my opinion, the Awesome Truth. It's good to see The Miz and R-Truth get a good moment. Like, Miz, of course, has had other moments at WrestleMania. R-Truth hasn't. But it's good to see them get this moment because R-Truth really, like, outshined everyone in this match. Like, he was massively over. In my opinion, one of the biggest pops of the night was when R-Truth did his thing, right? When R-Truth, like, got the hot tag, that was great. Even though there was no tags necessary, R-Truth is like retarded, so he didn't know. So he got the hot tag and did, like, the Cena sequence. That was great. And then when R-Truth got the titles and won the match, that was also great. And R-Truth is the only wrestler in history who can climb the ladder slowly, and it makes sense because his character is that he's, like, retarded, right? Otherwise, like, everyone else, I climbed the ladder. Like, my fiance was watching with me. She's like, this is stupid. She's like, they climb the ladder and then they stop and walk down when someone touches them, So, like, R-Truth thing was really cool. I really enjoyed that. Then we had a relatively boring match. Mysterio and Andrade versus Santos and Dirty Dominic Mysterio. I thought this was dumb because at the end of the match, not Travis Kelce, but the other one. What's the other one? Whatever. He's not worse than the good Kelce, but, like, the Kelce that plays for the Eagles and some other Eagle came out and helped Rey Mysterio. I don't know why the Eagles are so interested in helping Rey Mysterio. Like, why didn't the Eagles go and help out Jey Uso, right? But whatever, it is what it is. The Eagles came out and helped Rey Mysterio. They came out in Mysterio masks and they took their masks off to reveal that they were two random ass celebrities. That had nothing to do with anything. But whatever. Rey and Andrade win. I thought it was going to be Rey and Dragon Lee, but I haven't really been keeping up with this match because, quite frankly, I don't care about it. This match, for what it was okay, but it was a throwaway match, right? Like, it's like every Latino wrestler was put on this match. And I will say one thing was pretty sick. There was a spot where Joaquin Wilde was essentially launched from the middle rope, like Carlito and someone else got the middle rope, and they threw him, and he obviously jumped as well, and he went, like, farther than anyone's ever gone from inside the ring to outside the ring. It was sick. I really enjoyed that. Then we had one of the worst matches of the night, Jey Uso and Jimmy Uso. I'll just summarize this match as follows. There comes a point in the match, because I did fall asleep during this match. There comes a point in the match where Jey Uso basically is, like, winning, and Jimmy Uso says, like, I'm sorry. And Jey Uso, like, decides to, like, give him a second chance. He gets super kicked and he gets the splash, but Jimmy Uso gets only a 2 count. Then, moments after, Jey Uso hits a spear and a splash, and that's enough. So, basically, one Uso is capable of kicking out of a splash, and the other Uso is not. Then we have Bianca Belair, Jade Cargill, and Naomi versus Damage Control. This was predictable as hell. Obviously, I knew there was a point where Asuka was going to spray mist in the eyes of one of her allies. That was really whack, I thought. And there was also a lot of bullshit moments and a lot of botchy little Naomi moments, let's call them, right? The match was very quick, and very low effort. It didn't feel like a big time match. It really felt like a throwaway a throwaway Raw match or SmackDown match, and nobody cared. Then we had Sami Zayn and Gunther. This was one of the worst matches I've ever seen in my life. I don't want to hear ever again how Gunther's good in the ring. Gunther did like 3 moves this entire match. The entire match basically was them slapping each other, right? Eventually, Gunther hits a clothesline and hits a power bomb. Sami Zayn kicks out. Eventually, Gunther hits multiple other power bombs, and he hits the 2 worst looking top rope splashes I've ever seen in my life. It's like he hits the worst looking splash of all time, and then he goes up again and hits the 2nd worst looking splash of all time. Gunther is complete shit. This guy is not athletic at all. He's not believable at all. He just looks like a normal guy. You know what I mean? Sami Zayn just is even worse, obviously, right? I thought Gunther was gonna win, but obviously, as soon as like they did the whole lead up to Sami Zayn's entrance, it was evident that Sami Zayn was gonna win, right? So basically, the way the match ended was, well, I mean, I guess it kind of made sense because it's like, how could someone not kick out of Gunther's splashes? Like, it's like Gunther splashes, or he climbs the top turnbuckle, then he jumps down, and then he falls on you. Like, his feet always hit the mat first, then he kind of like does like a bullshit splash. Gunther is so unathletic. He's like right there with CM Punk in terms of the most unathletic people I've ever seen in wrestling. They're just so bad. Like it's like they have no coordination whatsoever. You know, Gunther's good in the ring. No, he's not. He's shit. He has good chops, and that's it. Chops are boring. Nobody wants to see that. We want to see wrestling moves, right? And some storytelling. Now, this match did have a story, but the story is shit, right? People always say like, oh, wrestling's about storytelling. I agree, it is about storytelling. But the story you have to tell has to be a good story. It can't be a complete shit story. You know what I mean? If the story itself is shit, then who cares if the storytelling of the story is good or not, right? The story here obviously was, can Sami Zayn get it done? Well, considering the fact that Sami Zayn already has been Intercontinental Champion, and considering the fact that Sami Zayn main evented last year's WrestleMania Night 1, then it should come as no surprise that Sami Zayn can get it done because he's beating up people higher in the card than Gunther. So what are you talking about, right? Also, I'm sick and tired of Sami Zayn as a character. His character is always like this coddled mid-carder, like nobody believes in him really, right? Until they do, right? I remember there was this feud. It was like when Braun Strowman was like first starting out, like after the Wyatt family, and the feud was Braun Strowman versus Sami Zayn, and like Mick Foley was the general manager or something, and Mick Foley was like, I'm not gonna put you in a match with Braun Strowman, Sammy, because you know I'm afraid for your safety. And the next match was like Braun Strowman versus like, you know, Grand Metalik or something, right? And it's like, well, wait a second, why does Mick Foley care about Sami Zayn's health, but Grand Metalik's health doesn't matter, right? Only certain wrestlers are immune from wrestling Braun Strowman because they're not good enough. But for some reason, like, Mick Foley's like, oh, Grand Metalik, if he dies, he dies, right? It's so stupid. And this is an extension of the same storyline as here, right? It's always like, for some reason, we have to worry about how Sami Zayn feels when he can't get it done. How come nobody asks, like, Akira Tozawa, hey, how does it feel to lose every match, right? Why don't we ever see Akira Tozawa's family over there? How come Jinder Mahal, who loses everything, is never asked, hey, man, like, how do you feel about this, right? For some reason, Sami Zayn is the cocksucker that they pick for all of these stupid-ass moments, right? So as a result, I don't give a shit. I don't think it's meaningful. And as far as I'm concerned, the Intercontinental title is completely meaningless because Gunther's 2-year reign is rendered 0 to me because at the end of the day, he lost to Sami Zayn. So who gives a shit? Who gives a flying fuck? He lost to Sami Zayn, who is a mid-card jobber. Anyways, I digress. Let's focus back on the actual main event here, which was, of course, the Bloodline, Rock and Roman versus Cookie Rhodes and Seth freaking Rollins. Now, here's the thing, okay? The match started off, like, extremely slowly. But according to Wikipedia here, the match went on for 44 minutes. So, you know, it's understandable if the match is going to go super slow if everything that needs to happen eventually happens, right? In my opinion, this match did a lot of good work in exposing the way the fans feel. Number one, Rollins and Cody did not get great reactions. Let's be honest, right? Of course, everyone screamed, whoa, and everyone screamed, whoa, for Cody's thing. There was a part where Seth Rollins tries to channel the fans to sing a song, and he tells Heyman, listen to them. And then Heyman's like, I hate this song, and the fans don't do it, right? They just don't do it because they're like, they actually start booing, right? Eventually, some of them start singing, but like, most people just don't give a shit, right? Same thing with Cookie Rhodes, and quite frankly, same thing with Roman Reigns. The only person that got great reactions, positive and negative, because the fans were all over the place, was the People's Champ, The Rock, right? The match eventually devolves into this tornado tag, like no DQ match, right? No rope breaks, no nothing, right? The Rock basically threatens the referee with firing him, and basically like anything goes. They start hitting each other with like, you know, small time weapons. You know what I mean? Like the prime bottles, or spitting water in each other's faces, or, you know, like that kind of stuff, or hitting each other with a belt. No like chairs, I don't think, or anything like that. But basically the way that the match goes down is as follows, right? It's like a back and forth match, but in the context of the match, like obviously, you know, you can't say that The Rock and Roman Reigns won clean, right? Because it wasn't a clean match. But in the context of the match, they won fair and square, might be the better way to put it, right? Meaning that Roman Reigns and The Rock did not do anything that Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins weren't allowed to do, right? The match was fair. You know what I mean? And Rock and Roman won fair and square. Notable moments in the match were as follows. Seth Rollins did a good job, I thought. He did a lot of cool moves, and he made the most of what he was capable of doing in this match. Then we had Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes, first of all, did the worst looking pedigree I've ever seen in my life. I don't give a shit if you love Cody Rhodes or not. You gotta admit that pedigree was shit. Then Cody Rhodes botched not one, but two Cody cutters. The first one was a complete botch. The second one, he just went for the wrong side, so Roman's head wasn't in there. And then the third one, The Rock sold it perfectly, so Cody Rhodes made that one look pretty good. Then Cody Rhodes does the triple crossroads, right? He does two of them on Roman Reigns, and for some reason, if Cody does one crossroads, that's pretty good. You can win the match like that. If he does three crossroads, that's like a guaranteed win. But if he does two of the three crossroads, it's as if he didn't do anything. Just like last year at WrestleMania, Roman Reigns completely no-sold them, right? He completely no-sold the two crossroads. What happened was there was one crossroads, another crossroads, and same thing as last year, Cody backs up. But at this time, instead of backing up to the corner, he backs up, you know, towards The Rock, who's standing by the ropes. The Rock whips him with the strap. Cody Rhodes falls to the ground. Roman Reigns gets up, hits the spear on him. Before this, Roman Reigns had speared Seth Rollins through the barricade, so he was out of the match, right? Another noteworthy moment, of course, was when Cody Rhodes countered a rock bottom into his own rock bottom, which also looked like shit, on The Rock from one announce table to the next. A lot of the moves that Cody did just looked like shit today, right? And he didn't do many moves. The Rock, surprisingly, all the moves that he did looked good. The sharpshooter looked good. He only did like 3 moves, but it is what it is. It's The Rock we're talking about, right? The match ends after the sequence that I mentioned where Roman Reigns spears Cody Rhodes. Roman Reigns then does... Oh, there was a point where he also speared The Rock by accident. But it's fine, water under the bridge. Because basically what happens is Rock, asks for the tag. Roman gives him the tag, and The Rock says, I'm doing this for you, or something like that, right? So The Rock picks up that lifeless hack, Cody Rhodes, and hits the Rock bottom on him. And he's not done yet, though, Cuts. He then does the People's Elbow, the most electrifying move in sports and entertainment history. The People's Elbow. He drops the elbow on Cody and pins him 1, 2, 3. As simple as that. Now, the match itself, I can't say it was a great match because it was too chaotic. It was too much, right? It wasn't a good wrestling match, but it was a good wrestling segment, if that makes any sense, right? The best match on the card, in my opinion, I can't believe I'm about to say this shit. I think it was Rhea Ripley versus Becky Lynch. Everything else in terms of the matches were complete shit, right? From a match standpoint, like Rhea Ripley versus Becky Lynch was a proper wrestling match. The wrestling matches, categorically, like, and all together and overall in this pay-per-view, I give them like a cumulative score of like 2 out of 10. Like some of the matches were complete shit. Like the ladder match was like a spot fest, but it wasn't that great. There was a lot of miscommunication, a lot of clear errors. Like there's a part where like they all fall from the ladder to the ropes. It just looked so fake, right? There were some good moments, some good spots, like a few JD McDonough spots. Okay, so I guess the ladder match was probably objectively the best wrestling, right? But it was one of the worst segments because I didn't give a shit, right? Nothing else really stood out. The main event obviously was the most entertaining part of the night because it actually has implications, right? And that's the idea here, right? None of the matches in night 1 really have any implications, and very few of the matches in night 2 have implications, right? But the main event of night 1 definitely had implications because the implications were that whatever happens in this one is going to impact what happens in night 2, right? So there are clear implications. The implications of whether Judgment Day will stay together or not, I could give a shit. You know what I mean? That's going to be resolved on Raw and everything else, right? Sami Zayn winning the IC title, I don't care at all, right? So the Bloodlines match with Seth and Cucky was good for what it was. You know what I mean? It was a good appetizer to tomorrow. So I will give it a solid 8 out of 10. Like normally it would be like a 5 or a 6 out of 10, but because The Rock did the Rock Bottom and the People's Elbow on Cucky Rhodes and pinned his monkey ass, I personally enjoyed that a lot more. Now, let's speak a little bit about the implications. First of all, I think when we go back and remember this WrestleMania years down the line, I mean, who knows, because we haven't seen night 2, right? But I really do believe that this match is going to be considered the main event, right? Like, people are going to remember this match more than Cody Rhodes winning the title if he wins the title, right? Which I mean, I hate to say it, but at this point, it's like this has Cody Rhodes overcomes the odds written all over it. But who cares? The point is what the point is, right? It doesn't matter at the end of the day, cucks, if Cody Rhodes wins the world title from Roman Reigns. Who gives a shit? Who gives a shit? The night before, The Rock pinned him clean. So, I mean, clean in the context of the match, right? The Rock pinned his ass. The Rock picked him up, and so did Roman, kind of, because it was like a concerted effort, right? But The Rock beat him and Seth Rollins' monkey asses. So with that being said, why would I give a shit if tomorrow the guy that got pinned today is going to beat the other guy in the match that didn't get the pin, right? Clearly, the main event, as it went down tonight, The Rock came out on top. The Rock is the hero of this story in the sense that he really is the final boss. So beating Roman Reigns means nothing because you haven't beat the final boss. You had the opportunity to do so, but you couldn't get it done, kid. So at the end of the day, I could give a shit what happens tomorrow. Obviously, I'm still gonna watch it. I'm still curious, you know. But in the long run, The Rock stole the show today by being The Rock. It's as simple as that. You can say whatever you want. If tomorrow Cody Rhodes if he beats up The Rock, if he beats up Roman Reigns, if Stone Cold and Cena come out and Hulk Hogan comes out, I don't give a shit. The point is, like, the guy that won in night 2 lost in night 1 to a guy that he's not beating in night 2. Now, I mean, who the fuck knows? Maybe they change the match. Maybe The Rock takes, so I don't know. Like, anything's possible. But as it stands now, it's not looking good for Cody Rhodes. He can have this moment, but it's an artificial moment. I don't care. He got his ass beat by The Rock, right? I mean, like, he can go and try to avenge that loss later, but why would The Rock give a shit? Like, The Rock proved. Like, honestly, The Rock pinned Cody Rhodes. If Cody Rhodes beats Roman Reigns, right, The Rock has proven that he's the tribal chief, right? Because he beat the guy that beat Roman Reigns. Transitive property, cucks. So with that being said, I'm not exactly sure what the prognosis is for tomorrow. I think a lot of the matches tomorrow are a bit more interesting, right? Like, we've got, first of all, the 2 championship matches, and we've got LA Knight versus AJ Styles, which could be the best match objectively in this entire pay-per-view, including night 1. And then we've got Logan Paul, Orton, and Kevin Owens, which is kind of interesting. And then we got the Pride, which I don't care about at all. But the point is, The Rock is going to be involved somehow tomorrow. Bloodline rules. I look forward to that. I don't think it matters much. I will say this. It does make things interesting, right? Because if it's Bloodline rules, if anything can happen, right, then it's like, you know, it's going to have the fans guessing the whole time, right? Like, is Seth Rollins going to come out? I mean, presumably he should because he's part of the storyline, right? But, like, will he come out and support Cucky, or will he come out and betray Cucky, right? Who knows? And honestly, who cares? But the point is, that might hinge on whether or not he wins his match against, you know, Drew McIntyre, right? Who the hell knows? Anything is possible, right? Like, there's a possibility that there's no clear winner. You know what I mean? Like, maybe, like, they decide to do, like, a super swerve and Damian Priest comes out and leaves the champion or something crazy like that, which is obviously very, very, very unlikely. But a lot of things are possible, right? And that's what makes it interesting with Bloodline rules. And a lot of the things that are possible could be revealed during the night. With that being said, Cucks, I don't know. I should have done this video tomorrow. I'm not sure if, like, how I feel about this card. I wasn't really entertained until the very end. And in the end, I just really liked the way that the match ended, right? I thought it ended in the correct way. And with that being said, I think that's what matters the most. So I will give this a passing grade of 6 out of 10. It's not going to go higher than that because I come from a time, cuckolds, where, WrestleMania cards are stacked from top to bottom. I had absolutely no interest in watching a Raw level match in Sami Zayn versus Gunther. That is a Raw level match. Like, there's nothing crazy, nothing special. The only thing that elevates it to a WrestleMania match is that there's a title change, but I could give a shit. I've already explained that I don't care at all about, the IC title, so, that doesn't do anything for me. The Jade Cargo match is just a throwaway match. Like, that's a match that match honestly should not have happened in WrestleMania. It's just a complete waste. And I will say this. There's something else that needs to be said about why this WrestleMania, and in my opinion, no subsequent WrestleManias can ever be, 10 out of 10s, right? The amount of commercials and horseshit is inexcusable, right? I understand the business model is different, and this is not exactly a pay-per-view. I get that. However, this is WrestleMania, So people should treat it like a pay-per-view, which means I shouldn't have to see commercials during a pay-per-view. I can tolerate maybe a Slim Jim commercial or something like that, but the amount of advertisement that was on this show is ridiculous. Not only did we have fucking, Prime all over the place, but during the match with all the Latinos, that's when they decided to advertise Minute Maid Agua Frescas. Of course, why wouldn't they, right? It makes perfect sense. It's like a Mexican drink, so why wouldn't they just throw it up there with when the Mexicans are wrestling, right? Of course, it makes sense. But it doesn't really matter much, in my opinion. I think the idea, it's a little bit annoying because it's everything has to be a commercial. And if you really look at the runtime of the matches, right, it just doesn't look good. The amount of horseshit that happened compared to the amount of good shit that happened is ridiculous, right? So let's kind of do a quick maths, right? The first match, 17 minutes. The second match, 17 minutes and 25 seconds. The first match had 5 seconds in there as well. So total, that's 34 minutes and 30 seconds. Then the fourth match is 11:05. So that's what? 45 minutes and 35 seconds. Another 11:05. Wow, look at that, Cux. Look at that. So that puts us from 45 to 56. That's about an hour right there. The Bianca Belair match was only 8 minutes. That puts us at an hour and 4 minutes. And then the Gunther match was 15 minutes and 30 seconds. So let's just round up to an hour and 20. And the Bloodline, that was 44 minutes. So that puts us at 2 hours exactly, right? This was a 4-hour event. As far as pay-per-view, there were 2 hours of matches. And some of these matches, I would say a good amount of them, for example, obviously the main event and even the Sami Zayn Gunther, there was so much bullshit. The match starts, and they just look at each other lovingly for 5 minutes, right? The Rock and Roman, all that other stuff, the first 20, 25 minutes of the match was just a complete waste of time just to say that this match was long. So with all that being said, it is what it is. But the amount of bullshit that we have around here is inexcusable, and I think that also detracts from the possible rating of WrestleMania. So actually, I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. I've talked my way into a 5 out of 10. Cuckolds.